Well, the story now of a man who lost both legs and survived is just one of many remarkable survival stories. But his is remarkable because the team of surgeons that performed the double bilateral amputation were just visiting that day and using a builder's Leatherman and a hacksaw, Brian, goodness gracious me, removed his legs above the knee, ultimately saving his life. Brian, an investment banker at the Pine Gould Guinness building, Kiwi surgeon who now lives in Brisbane, Stuart Phillips, led the three-man team. Mihi Narangi Forbes tells us his extraordinary story.
Back in Brisbane today, Dr. Stuart Phillips' wife is glad to have him home.
I'm so proud of him. I think, of course I didn't want him in there, didn't want him to do it, but I understand and I'm really proud that he did do it.
It's my building.
That's our work.
That's your workplace.
It's an extraordinary story. A hacksaw, a Leatherman and a small team of surgeons, all in the right place at the right time.
There was essentially a shout from some fireys that were up on the building saying, they had someone trapped. Could we have a doctor to make an assessment of them? He was trapped really by sort of what seemed to be half the building, but his head was free and he could talk to us.
At the ready was a group of volunteer builders, standing by to take instruction.
And were asked by a fireman if we could shore up a staircasing so they could get to a gentleman named Brian.
Brian, an investment banker, was one of 70 people pulled out alive. He was crushed in the stairwell at the back of the PCG building.
He must have been in the staircasing trying to get out. The staircasing wall collapsed, came across his legs, pinned both of his legs. The wall had severed his right leg, but not his left. It just pinned his left leg.
The surgeons asked rescuers to lift him out so they could attend to him.
They reported back to the three of us that there was no way they were going to be able to lift things off his legs or even be able to cut through it. Brian was actually getting progressively unwell. We didn't have a whole lot of time, and so the three of us just went away and had a very kind of a quiet conference, I suppose, in the corner. And I think we all knew that he had to have his legs amputated, but it's not a decision you want to make by yourself. And so, I suppose it was a group decision. There actually wasn't a whole lot of choice.
The visiting anaesthetist had a backpack of pain relief.
So he had morphine, which we all know is a pain reliever, and he had a medication called ketamine. Now, it's a medication that will essentially take away someone's memory, and although they will still be kind of breathing for themselves, so they're not on a machine breathing for them, there would certainly be no memory of it.
They called for a surgery kit from the hospital, but it would be half an hour, and Brian didn't have time.
We had a tradie, had a hacksaw, it was a builder's hacksaw. We had a disposable scalpel blade, but they're actually made have a plastic handle. They're really not good for much. And we had a Leatherman, sort of like a Swiss Army knife, and those were the tools that we used. Brian was basically pinned across his lower legs, and it was a very small space. And although I'm not a big guy, the anaesthetist and my colleague from Melbourne were smaller than I were, so they could sort of fit into the space.
There wasn't a lot of blood at all, and the body does strange things, which must have just pinched the nerves off in the end of the femoral artery, because that was all severed right off.
The surgery took 15 minutes to remove both legs.
Look, he won't have any awareness of it. Did he feel pain? Look, he may have, but he won't ever remember it. And the body actually, you'll find most people involved in trauma have a period of amnesia. They actually don't remember it. The body kind of shuts that out. I'm very pleased to be home.
Oh, so glad.
In the middle of the chaos, Stuart texts his wife Emma.
I was worried then. I was worried for his safety and worried for what was going on. I think I sort of ran around and showed a few colleagues, but then I had patients arrive and I kind of put it to the back of my mind and kept going with my patients. And
Did you send him a text back about what he should do?
I told him, get out of the building. I think I said, get out of the building, I need you here.
There haven't been signs of life for at least 40 hours now. In fact, crews have been more recently pulling out dead bodies. Dr. Philip Stewart, his team, Jay Foraker and Brian, the investment banker, will be grateful theirs is a story of success amongst such heartache.
He's alive and he's going to make it.
How good is that?
That's good.
Hopefully I'll get to talk to Brian at some stage the next few days as well, and hopefully my colleague in Melbourne will as well, so just to sort of have a bit of kind of closure. But you know, to know that he's alive, he's out of the woods, he's got a long way ahead of him. He's got to learn to walk again with some prosthetic legs, but you know, he will, I'm sure he will.